Structure and function of bone. Osteocytes are mature bone cells. They maintain and monitor the protein and mineral content of the surrounding matrix. The minerals in the matrix are continually recycled. Each osteocyte directs the release of calcium from bone into blood and the deposition of calcium salts into the surrounding matrix. Osteocytes occupy small chambers called lacunae that are sandwiched between layers of calcified matrix. These matrix layers are called lamellae. Channels called canaliculi radiate through the matrix from one lacuna to another and toward free surfaces and adjacent blood vessels. The canaliculi connect adjacent lacunae and bring the processes of neighboring osteocytes into close contact. Tight junctions interconnect these processes and provide a route for the diffusion of nutrients and waste products from one osteocyte to another. There are two types of osseous tissue: compact bone and spongy bone. Compact bone is relatively dense and solid, whereas spongy bone, also termed trabecular bone or cancellous bone, forms an open network of struts and plates. Both are found in typical bones of the skeleton, such as the humerus and the femur. Compact bone forms the walls, and the internal layer of spongy bone surrounds the medullary cavity. The medullary cavity contains bone marrow, which is a loose connective tissue dominated by either adipocytes in yellow bone marrow or a mixture of mature and immature red and white blood cells and stem cells in the red bone marrow. Yellow marrow, often found in the medullary cavity of the shaft, is an important energy reserve. Extensive areas of red marrow, such as in the spongy bone of the femur, are important sites of blood cell formation. The functional unit of mature compact bone is the cylindrical osteon, or Haversian system. In an osteon, the osteocytes are arranged in circular layers around a central canal, also known as the Haversian canal, which contains the blood vessels that supply the osteon. Central canals run parallel to the surface of the bone. Other passages, known as perforating canals or Volkmann's canals, extend perpendicular to the surface. Blood vessels in the perforating canals deliver blood to the osteons deeper in the bone and service the medullary cavity. The cylindrical concentric lamellae of each osteon are arranged parallel to the long axis of the bone. These lamellae form a series of concentric rings resembling a bullseye target around the central canal. The collagen fibers spiral along the length of each lamella, and differences in the direction of spiraling within adjacent lamellae strengthen the osteon. Canaliculi form an interconnecting network with the osteocytes within their lacunae. This enables the passage of nutrients and wastes to and from the blood vessels within the central canal. Interstitial lamellae fill in the spaces between the osteons in compact bone. Circumferential lamellae occur at the external and internal surfaces of the bone. In a bone, such as the humerus or femur, the circumferential lamellae form the outer and inner surfaces of the bone shaft. The major difference between compact and spongy bone is the arrangement of spongy bone into parallel struts or thick branching plates called trabeculae. Numerous interconnecting spaces occur between the trabeculae in spongy bone. Spongy bone forms an open framework, and as a result, it is much lighter than compact bone. However, the branching trabeculae give spongy bone considerable strength, despite its relatively light weight. Thus, the presence of spongy bone reduces the weight of the skeleton, making it easier for muscles to move the bones. Spongy bone is found wherever bones are not stressed heavily, or where stresses arrive from many directions. A layer of compact bone covers the surfaces of all bones. The thickness of this layer varies from region to region and from one bone to another, but compact bone is thickest where stresses arrive from a limited number of directions. This superficial layer of compact bone is in turn covered by the periosteum, which is a connective tissue wrapping that is connected to the deep fascia. The periosteum is complete everywhere except within a joint, where the edges or ends of two bones make contact with one another. Compact bone surrounds the medullary cavity. The bone has two ends or epiphyses separated by a tubular diaphysis or shaft. The diaphysis is connected to the epiphysis at a narrow zone known as the metaphysis. The shaft of compact bone transfers stresses from one epiphysis to another. For example, when you are standing, the shaft of the femur transfers your body weight from your hip to your knee. The osteons within the shaft are parallel to its long axis, and as a result, the femur is very strong when stressed along that axis. A long bone does not bend when forces are applied at the other end, but an impact to the side of the shaft can easily break or fracture the bone. Spongy bone is not as massive as compact bone, but it is much more capable of resisting stresses applied from many different directions. The epiphyses of the femur are filled with spongy bone. The trabeculae are oriented along the stress lines, but with extensive cross-bracing. At the proximal epiphysis, the trabeculae transfer forces from the hip across the metaphysis to the femoral shaft. At the distal epiphysis, the trabeculae transfer the forces across the knee joint to the leg. In addition to reducing weight and handling stress from many directions, the open trabecular framework supports and protects the cells of the bone marrow. Thank you for watching.